Once you've determined where your students are performing upon returning to school, a solid recovery plan will have identified research-based practices that can be implemented for different students depending on their need. This video highlights a few of those strategies that research tell us are effective for accelerating instruction for all students. You'll also see below this video a list of resources that were accessed to really pull this together. And it could be a starting point for additional research if you think any of these strategies might work for your school. First is high dosage tutoring. We hear this intervention being tossed about quite a bit. High dosage tutoring is intensive tutoring that occurs one-to-one or in very small groups on a sustained daily basis during the school day to help all students accelerate their learning in an individualized manner. This could also be an intentional use of additional time with a specific focus on building prerequisite knowledge and skills while simultaneously integrating new learning that is part of grade level curriculum. So again, you'll see, similar to our discussion about accelerated learning, this idea of combining the acquisition of new skills with the building of prerequisite knowledge. It's important to note that for high dosage tutoring, most of the research shows that high dosage tutoring is most effective when paired with skilled tutors, highly trained teachers, for example, that if you're doing some sort of reading tutoring, that your teachers are highly trained in reading instruction strategies and the science of reading. Another approach is to restructure courses. So in this way, you're utilizing strategies that reorganize instructional time and modify the curriculum to compress some content, pair content with similar or aligned material, eliminate redundancies, and other approaches that enable focus on learning key skills in shorter periods of time. So one example of this could be to pull learning skills and strands through different content areas so that you're combining, for example, some humanities with English language arts in a way that you're being able to provide content learning on both of those things at the same time. Again, another approach is called competency-based instruction. And competency-based learning is an educational system in which each student gets what they need to reach their fullest potential and master high standards. And it often uses flexible pathways, differentiated support, individual and collective tasks, and multiple means and opportunities for demonstrating skill development. So this one is very much tied to what are the competencies that a child needs to learn or master in order to move forward on grade level content. And that it is done in a highly individualized way so that everything is very tailored to student needs. This is very related to tailored instruction because the idea of tailored instruction is to combine high quality teacher-led instruction with other instructional approaches so that students aren't learning the same thing at the same time, but they're really tailoring their learning trajectories toward the areas in which they need to demonstrate their mastery. Again, a very highly individualized approach that is quite challenging when you have a lot of students with varied levels of need in your classroom. The primary person approach, it's called lots of different things in different contexts, but essentially what it is this idea that you're ensuring that each student has at least one stable and committed adult relationship with someone who's supportive of them in the school community. And basically research has shown that students that have this primary person are more likely to respond to adversity in positive ways and to succeed in school. So this can be set up either through some sort of an advisory process or really in mapping each child to the person in the school who's most supportive and who has that connection with the student. Extended learning time is another one that can be combined with some of these additional strategies, and that is really about adding learning time for critical learning that's also paired with increased teacher professional development and other supports. So we're not just saying more learning time, we're saying more learning time from skilled teachers who have the tools and strategies that they need to be able to deliver the content in a way that's appropriate and challenging for students. So again, not just more, but more and skilled with resources attached to it. Finally, the last example that we're going to be presenting are early warning systems. So this is another research-based approach that has been shown to be a successful part of accelerated learning strategies. And what it does is it uses a strong system to monitor early student warning signs that are also paired with strong norms and routines to help students recover emotionally and engage academically. So for me, what this is it's a way to individualize what is most important to your community and keep it top of mind as you're planning. So for example, attendance could be a really important factor that you want to look at because it often correlates to strong learning outcomes. And so what you could do is if you have an early warning system that pulls attendance data in there, you could start to identify students who are moving toward a chronic absence measure, and that would then trigger additional supports and interventions to be delivered for that student. So as you can see, this is a very brief overview of some of the strategies that research tells us work for accelerated learning. And as you plan for how your school is going to approach this time, it's important that you look at each of the factors that are in the research that show how this is effective. Because, for example, tutoring, if you just do tutoring with volunteers that have not been trained in the appropriate ways, it may not be effective based on research strategies as if you are doing the same tutoring with highly skilled teachers who understand deeply the science of learning how to read, for example. So we advise that you both review the research and consult with experts in each of these areas to determine what's most effective and appropriate for your school prior to designing the entire program, because you really want to have a set of strategies that you're implementing that are feasible and reasonable for your school community, but that are going to be able to address every student need in the coming year.